not hurting you, am I?
This is Alberto Friedman. He's a master, and he's U.S. martial arts team. Is that correct?
Son of a gun. You need a little help. I'm busy at the moment, but
If you want to present, make your presentation.
Well, we have been talking about this for a number of years. For many of us, if my generation in the martial arts, our first exposure to the arts was through your comics. Whether it was through the action that was taking place, through the philosophy being brought out. And there are masters and grandmasters throughout the world that credit you as being their inspiration to get into the martial arts.
Wait till I tell my wife.
So it's a distinct pleasure and an honor to present you with a master's grade black belt. On the one side, and on the other it says thank you and Excelsior.
take it back. Hey, it's an honor for me. There's a certain way to do it.
Yes, very specific.
These guys,
Stanley Black Belt.
These guys are strong, but it hurts to even tighten this. Oh man, I can't thank you enough. That's so great. What a surprise.
We cannot thank you enough.
Oh yes, you can. Try it.
Send him a check. He'll take it.
I'm not taking it off. All right, boy. Anybody want to rumble?
thanks.
Alberto Friedman, United States Olympic team.
Wait till I tell him back at the office. What am I doing? I'll hold this. I want to stand so it'll show. Nice. All right.
All right. We had.
Don't mess
I
with
told
me.
somebody he could ask us a question, a special question. Is it?
I've got a
he's
question.
first. Yeah.
Somebody said I should think of a question that might be a little difficult.
Yes.
And I wasn't able to think of one. Are you there, Max?
He gave me the question.
Yeah, Max
sir.
asked me, oh, he gave you?
He
Because I
gave me the
thought of a
question.
question now.
Oh, what is it?
Tell me, write down your question. He can't tell me because you might hear it. And I'll see if it's as difficult as my question. Do you have it written down? My luck, he's got a lousy handwriting. Very suspenseful. Anyway, I don't see well, so he's writing that small.
On who wanted to be a superhero?
But I don't know the answer myself.
You can just ask your question. You're the boss.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask.
He didn't like your question.
How about my judge? I know that. All right.
They might.
I'll ask for a specific. All right, I got it. Do I do it now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Dr. Strange had many oaths or incantations that he would mutter. Who knows what comes after the hoary? Is that too easy or is it?
Someone yelled it.
Hosts of Boga.
That's right, the hoary host of Potter. I'm amazed that I remembered it. I don't even have one.
Round of applause for Tom.
The hoary host of Hugget. Hey, does anybody know what comes after the shades of? That man's a genius. What do you think? The shades of the shadowy seraphim.
All right, so
It brings back memories.
we do have one important announcement unrelated to Stan.
I don't want to hear it.
We don't either.
Do we have a TJ Warren in the house? TJ Warren, if you'd come speak to this group right over here, they need some information from you. All right.
A little bit of a mystery going on.
All right, I think we're ready to get some.
I wondered who it was. I mean, you see a blank card in front of you, it could say anything. You could say Stan Lee is a jerk. It could be, I don't know. That's nice. Now I know his name.
And the ping pong score.
It'll come out. Little OxyClean, OxyClean. It'll get that stuff. Never mind.
I feel this thing hasn't really gotten started.
Well, let's start with a question. What is your question, sir? You look very intense.
And are you going to mention it for everybody in case they don't hear it?
I've told it.
Stan, I've actually got a question for somebody that isn't you, but I wanted to tell it in front of your greatness.
What?
That's right, people. It's happening.
Let me tell you, it takes a lot to upstage me.
Y'all come here for a minute. Come here. And what is your name?
My name's Justin Burke.
Justin Bird. And
And
what is
what
your
did
name,
your
young
name
lady?
used to be?
Alexi Brewer. Round of applause.
Stan.
Do you see the effect you've had on people?
Yeah, they didn't even know each other when they walked in. Pick on me with you.
All right, so next up we have Dr. Travis Langley. He teaches classes at a university, and he teaches a lot of subjects about superheroes. And he's going to be doing a panel later about you and some of your works, and he's asked some of his students their top questions for you. So Dr. Langley is going to ask you those questions, and they're going to record it, and they're going to do a study on it. Either
Thanks
that,
for making me nervous.
either that, or I've been scammed out of $35. All right, go ahead.
I am presently teaching a course titled Stanley Heroes at Henderson State University. The students have been endlessly impressed, by the degree of humanity you brought to these characters at a time when characters were very flat otherwise. So there's an awful lot we can talk about. And I let my students pick the questions instead of asking my own. And these really are their questions. Questions that I have not heard you answer a zillion times. Samantha asked, if Stan could change one character or story he created, what would he change and how?
If you could change one story or character that you created, make a big change, what would it be?
Well, I don't know if you know, there was a character I had, I think in the Fantastic, is this thing working?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think in the Fantastic Four, I had a villain once called Diablo. I love the name, but to this day, I can't remember who he was or what he did or why the hell I even used him. We had a book that had to go to the printer quickly. Jack and I were busy, and I came up with the name Diablo, and I gave Jack some kind of a fast plot, and he did the rest. He drew it, and I wrote it, and we sent it out. I never knew what it was. I do not know who this idiot character is. If I had to do all over again, I would have really thought more about Diablo. No, I wouldn't have, because I didn't have time. I would have wished that Diablo was a better character.
I love it.
I wiggled out of that one.
The class watched the Stanley story documentary, and they got very interested in your history, your wife's involvement in your career, and how she helped you decide to tell a different kind of story. Christine wanted to know, did Joan ever help you plan any specific stories or characters?
Did she ever help me create any? Not a bit. She's selfish. I'll tell you two funny things about her. One, she has the worst temper in the world. So, in the early years of our marriage, she got mad at me in about the late 60s. We were having an argument, and I had this beautiful Underwood, Remington noiseless portable typewriter that I had typed just about all of the things I ever wrote. And she said, I forget, she was mad at me. She lifted up the typewriter and she said, I'll show you. She throws the typewriter on the floor. It shattered into a million pieces. Well, I didn't care. I could always buy another typewriter. But I said to her the other day, Joni, do you know what we could have auctioned that typewriter? Boy, that got to her. The other thing, one day she said to me, this was about 20 years ago, I think I'd like to write a book. You've never written a book, or I said, well, I'd like to try. So well, she's my wife. I bought her a whole ream of paper, and I had a computer, and I said, here, write a book. She brings me something months later, about 300 pages. I didn't bother reading it. How good could it be? I sent it to an agent I knew, and I said, she's my wife, be good to her, let her down easy. Believe it or not, he calls me the next day, said, this is great. He sold it. It was published as a pocket book by Dell. It was their top-selling book that month. And I thought I was talented. So I said, write another book, I can stop working. He said, no. And that's my wife. And I forget what the question was.
Kelly Jean wanted to know which female character was your favorite to write.
Oh, I loved them all. And I guess I liked Mary Jane the best. And you know, originally when I did Spider-Man, I thought Gwen would be his girlfriend. But somehow she was so nice and so perfect that we couldn't make her interesting enough. So we introduced this girl, and I love the way we introduced her, and I'm sorry they didn't do it in the movie. His Aunt May had been saying to him for the longest time, I want you to meet this nice girl who lives next door. Now, the average teenager, he hears the word nice in front of a girl, that's a turnoff. So Peter never really wanted to meet her, figuring she'll be some dull gal. You know, if my aunt likes her, how great can she be? But finally, one day, he agrees. I forget how it happened, but he opens up the door and there she is. And she says, and she's gorgeous. And she says, face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot. Oh,
Right.
But they didn't put it in the movie.
The last question from my students. Ben wanted to know, after a long, hard day, what's Stan's favorite way to relax? Is there a favorite drink or what?
I sit down and try to dream up another story. No, I'm not much for relaxing. If I have a few spare minutes, I have a drink with my wife and tell her how wonderful I am, but she doesn't. And we watch some television, but most of the time I'm at my desk making notes, and it's what I love to do. I like to play with stories.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right after
Your class will be your students.
Right after this, Peter Coogan and I, fellow comic scholar, and I will be talking about Stan Behind His Back for the next hour.
Hi, Stan. Actually, you contributed an interview essay to What is a Superhero, book I'm co-editing. We talked on the phone. The question is, Odd John is a 1935 novel which features a bald, telepathic mutant who gathers young mutants to him to protect them from a world that hates and fears them. I passed the question to your assistant. He said that you said you've never heard of it, but it's where the term Homo superior comes from. And so I'm just curious, if you didn't get Homo superior from Odd John, do you remember the circumstances for using the term homo superior?
This is one of those things where I'm going to abbreviate drastically. Where did the term homo superior come from? Do you remember?
Oh, that's easy. We're Homo sapiens, so I felt the next stage would be Homo superior.
What was the name of the
Homo
book?
sapien.
It's Odd John. Odd John.
Have you ever heard of a book called Odd John?
No. What is that?
It was published in 1935 by Olaf Stapleton. Don't worry, it was out of copyright when you.
It's a book from 1935 that mentions mutants and Homo superior.
Wow.
It's about a bald telepathic mutant who
They were all telepathic?
bald telepathic mutant who gathers young mutants to him to protect them from a world that hates and fears them. Does that sound like anything?
Can I sue him?
And incidentally, the novel ends on an island with the great powers of the world and their warships about, and they actually do bombard it and kill everybody. It has the same ending as First Class. So,
As First Class movie. All right, and we're gonna have to, if you can look and see how many people are in
I
line.
never heard of that.
Let's be courteous and get the questions out.
Ones. Hi, Stan. I was just wondering, what kind of creative input did you have on the Marvel movies, if any?
So, what kind of creative input do you have on the Marvel movies?
Believe it or not, none. Or hardly any, which is probably why they're so good. I mean, I know the producer, and we meet and we talk, but I try to butt out. We have good writers, we have great directors, they know their business, and I'm just lucky they call me for a cameo. I really have very little to do with the movie itself.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Stan. I really just first want to say thank you. And also, after watching the documentary on you, I have nothing but respect and admiration for the relationship that you and your wife have. And I'm a young writer who's married, and I just wanted to ask, how do you manage to keep that relationship so strong?
Stan, how long you been married?
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. I've been married 65 years, but we're still working at it. Actually, 65 years and 3 months, I think. I don't know. I like her, and I think she likes me. I don't know the answer to that. She's nice.
Thank you. That's all you can ask for.
Secret to happiness, people. Be nice.
Got a bad temper, though.
Hello, Stan. First, I'd like to say thank you for Spider-Man. I mean, it's...
You're welcome.
You know,
Thank you for having me here.
for me being able to read it, I really appreciate it. But my question is it's pretty simple, really. You've been in on all the movies. Which one was your favorite cameo?
Which one?
Which was your favorite cameo in the movies?
Well, I think I got a kick out of them not letting me into the wedding of Reed and Sue. And I kind of liked being a librarian while the Spider-Man was fighting behind me. But I gotta tell you, Iron Man 3, when it opens up, I think that's the best and funniest one. I can't wait to say it. It probes really the depths of my acting ability.
Next.
Mr. Lee, you've practically defined what a superhero is for any generation. Like you have the young, like a weak person, big, but with a big heart, like Steve Rogers as Captain America. And how exactly do you keep all of these characters so grounded?
How do you keep all your amazing characters grounded and so real?
Well, all I did when I wrote them was I tried to think if this character was a real person, what would his or her life be like? And I thought it would be fun with Peter Parker to make him, teenagers were always sidekicks. There was Bucky for Captain America and Robin for Batman. I thought it would be fun to have a teenager who's a real superhero himself. And then I figured, well, what'll his life be like? I thought it would be nice to make him a guy who didn't have everything working right for him. He didn't have enough money. He didn't have that many girlfriends. And then the ultimate, he thought he was responsible for the death of his uncle. That was too much. But I tried to figure, besides their super qualities, what kind of people are they? What lives do they live? I had mentioned somewhere before, I always wondered, Superman, where did he live? You know, did he live in an apartment, a condo, a house? What was his private life, except for the fact that he liked Lois Lane, and nobody knew who he was when he took off his glasses? I didn't know anything about him. So all I tried to do was give all of my superheroes some sort of a private life and something that might worry them or bother them, because everybody has something that worries and bothers them. I'm worried and bothered that I may be talking too long. So I just tried to make them human beings who happen to have superpower also. I hope that ends it. I forgot what
That was good. That was good.
St. Louis can now add another Stan the Man to be one of their favorite people.
St. Louis loves this.
I love St. Louis.
What was your what is your favorite superhero that you
My
created?
favorite superhero.
What is your favorite superhero?
I'll take the easy way out. Spider-Man.
Nice.
I hope somebody is taping this so I can show it to my wife. She won't believe it.
I got you.
What first inspired you to start making comic books?
What first inspired?
What first inspired you to create comic books?
Greed. No, really. We didn't have much money. It was during the Depression. My father was unemployed, and I had to see if I could make a few bucks. So I had a lot of odd jobs, and then I heard that there was this publishing company, and they were looking for an assistant in one of the departments. I didn't know it was comics. They published a lot of books. They published detective books, men's books, romance books, movie books, and they had this little inky-dink department of comics. So I went up there to apply for a job, and I saw it was in the comic department run by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. And they deserved the applause. And I was just hired to be their assistant. I filled their inkwells. They used pen and ink in those days. And I went down and got them sandwiches, and I did proofreading. Little by little, I started writing because they needed help with the writing. And then something happened, and they left the company. And I was all alone in the department. I was about 17, 18 years old. And the publisher said, can you look after things till I hire, a real person? When you're 17 or 18, what do you know? I said, sure, I can take care of it. And he forgot to hire the real person. I've been there ever since. Is that an answer? Again, what was the question?
That was a fabulous answer.
Sometimes I start rambling. You gotta stop me.
I don't think anyone's going to stop you from rambling. Anyone?
No.
Next question, sir.
Okay, first of all, big fan, really love your character design. But the question is, do you think is the most overpowered hero you've ever created?
What's the most overpowered hero you've ever created?
Overpowered? You mean who has the most power?
Too much power.
Too much power, maybe.
There ain't no such thing as too much power. I don't know. I never thought about it. We have some very powerful ones. Got the Hulk. You got Galactus. I think the Hulk wishes he had more power, and so does Galactus. No, there's no such thing as too much power.
Nice. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Mr. Lee, your wife was the voice of Madam Web on the Spider-Man animated series. Is that the way she talks in real life? Is that something she put on?
So your voice was the voice of Madam Web on the Spider series. Is that how she really talks?
No. she's English, and she had, the most beautiful voice. She sounded like Greer Garson, whom none of you remember. No, she's got a gorgeous voice.
So that's not, she doesn't scare people when she talks like that?
She doesn't scare people when she talks?
Well, sometimes she scares me, because she's liable to say, can I go to Neiman Marcus and go shopping? That's terrifying.
All right, next question.
I want to be a writer, and I have 2 questions for you.
One question.
Well, when you were writing comics from 1960 and 1970, and you had all your heroes, how did you come up with a new villain for each issue?
As you were writing comics in the 60s and 70s, how did you come up for villains for your comics? New villains, keep it fresh.
A lot of times I just thought of names of animals. Octopus, lizard. I don't know. I really wish I could answer that intelligently, but I don't know. I would sit down and think, I have a hero who can do this. I have to find a villain who can do things that might really threaten the hero, so the hero would have a tough time defeating the villain. And you keep thinking, and you come up with something like Dr. Doom or the Vulture. I can't even remember all of our villains.
Animals. All right, next question.
No more questions. Goodbye, you've been nice.
You're fine right there.
All right, just look up at it and talk.
If you were to write anything but comics, what would you write about?
If you were going to write anything other than comic books, what would you write?
Well, probably a television series or a movie. In fact, I'm working on some now, but they're a long way off. But anything that has to do with pictures and words. Like a movie, you see the pictures and you hear the words. I always thought when I was a kid I'd write the great American novel, but I don't think I'd like to write a novel because it's just words, and I'm so used to looking at pictures while the words are there. So it would be anything that has to do with pictures and words.
All right, good question. Next.
Hi, I was just wondering, how did you come up with the idea of the X-Men?
How'd you come up with the idea of the X-Men?
I read that book the guy mentioned. The way it really happened, I had already done a few others, and they were selling well, and my publisher said, come on, dream up a new book for me. So I was thinking, I had run out of ways for characters to get superpowers. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider. Daredevil, I think there were gamma rays that he was exposed to. No, the Hulk was exposed to gamma rays, and the Fantastic Four had cosmic rays. I had run out of rays. So I finally took the cowardly way out, and I said, wait a minute. What if I have a group of heroes who were just born with that power? Then I wouldn't have to explain anything. They were just born mutants. And that's really the way I thought of the X-Men. So I went running into my publisher and I said, I got the idea for you. I told him, he liked it, and I said, I'm gonna call it The Mutants. He said, that is the worst title I've ever heard. He said, nobody knows, he had great respect for our readers. He said, nobody will know what a mutant is. So he was paying my salary, I had to do what he said. So I thought, I'll dream up another title. And then I thought, well, they have extra power. And I remembered I had created a character called Professor Xavier to be the head of the group. Extra power, Xavier, just for fun. I said, I'll call them the X-Men. Ran into my publisher, how about the X-Men? Great title. And as I walked out, I thought, if I couldn't figure out how bosses think, if nobody would know what a mutant was, how would anybody know what an X-Men is? But he okayed the title, and I was happy with it, and that's how it happened.
All right, we have time for about 2 or 3 more questions.
No, I got time.
You're the boss. Max is making faces.
I ain't got time.
Yes, sir.
I was wondering, Who was your favorite artist to work with?
My favorite one?
Do you have a favorite artist to work with?
They were all so good. I probably did more work in the beginning with Jack Kirby than anybody. He was wonderful. And of course, Ditko was wonderful doing Spidey and Doctor Strange. But John Romita was terrific. He could take over any script and make it sensational. He took over Spider-Man when Ditko left. He did a wonderful job. John Buscema was a fantastic artist. Gene Colan, Bob Kane. I mean, I could keep naming them. I was the luckiest guy in the world. Whatever I wrote, they drew it so beautifully that it looked good and I got all the credit.
Nice. Thank you. All right, let's go one more.
Hi, Stan. When Hollywood gets smart and comes calling to do the story of Marvel Comics, who would you like to see cast to play you?
When Marvel does when a movie does the story of Marvel Comics on the big screen, who's gonna play Stan Lee?
Brad Pitt.
He said Brad Pitt.
Yeah, either Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. No, they're not good looking enough.
He's so modest.
It'll probably be some funny looking comedian. I have no idea.
What about Bobby De Niro?
Bobby De Niro? Robert De Niro?
He's not bad. I'd settle for anybody.
One more and then we're done, folks. I'm sorry, guys, if you're in line, I apologize. Go ahead, you're it.
I'm a very, very new comic reader. I'm a very big fan of Captain America, and I was wondering what brought about him coming back to the Marvel Universe in Avengers 4.
What caused you to bring Captain America back?
That's a good question. I had all our other characters, and I had always liked Captain America. And I wanted one guy without any powers that were too super. And I remembered that when I was younger, I read Captain America and I liked him. And I said, but he's dead, how can I bring him back? Then I figured, okay, he was in a plane, it crashed in the north, and it got into a glacier, and he was frozen for 20 or 30 years. So I thought, I'm gonna bring him back, but then I had to think of a personality to give him. The only thing I didn't like about him, he never really had a personality. He just fought the bad guys. So I thought, I'll bring him back to life years later, and I'll let him feel as though he's something of an anachronism. Suddenly he's in an age where there are hippies and rock music and protest marches and all the stuff that was going on in the 60s. And he's not used to it, and he doesn't understand it. And I remember there was one line I wrote for him where he said, maybe I should have questioned more and battled less. And I wanted to make him an interesting kind of confused guy, but who always tries to do the right thing. And as we started using him, I got to like him more and more. So I put him in the Avengers, and now in the movies, he's like the leader of the Avengers. And it's amazing how that happened, because he had been a character we had forgotten, thinking he's too patriotic, too corny. And now he's become popular, and that probably proves something, and I don't have any idea what it is. Hey, the next time we have one of these, let's make it so that it could be for the whole afternoon. I hate to think there are people with questions that don't get answered.
We'll make it
So let's
happen.
fix the time.
Yeah!
It's easier than working.
Ladies and gentlemen, St. Louis, I give you Stan Lee. Folks, it's been my pleasure hosting this panel with y'all. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name's Jared Pittman. Thank you.